You're watching Politics Unscripted, and we are now going into a conversation with Professor Bheki Mngomezulu on the likely outcomes of the ANC NEC, which is currently ongoing. We understand. Professor, thank you very much for making time to talk to us. Just a short while ago, the COSATU president, Zingiswalosi, talking to us here, in a way reiterating what the Federation tabled, or the remarks of the Federation were at that ANC NEC, and importantly, what has been quoted widely by the media today, including the Sunday papers, is the call by COSATU for disciplinary measures to be taken against senior leaders of the party and cabinet members who attack the constitution, because failure to do so, and this is now in inverted commas, failure to do so is feeding a culture of mediocrity. Although Zingiswalosi did not mention Lindiwe Sisulu by name, is it clear that this is in reference to her, but also, importantly, the reference to the word mediocrity? What do you read into that?
Thank you very much, Toli, for having me, and good afternoon to your viewers. You know, I hold a different view to the position taken by COSATU. Because the reality of the matter is, as much as COSATU is correct in saying that members of the organization, and of course including the Tripartite Alliance, should toe the line, but then there are basic things that need to be done by the organization in its entirety. So in this case, we are talking about issues of national importance, which go beyond just the ANC as the organization or the Tripartite Alliance. For instance, the issues that have been raised by the Minister of Tourism, Lindiwe Sisulu, if you look at those issues objectively, you are most likely to find that there is credence in what she is saying. The issues she is raising are issues some of us have raised before in different platforms. And we have even cited specific cases where the judiciary did not act in the manner that it was expected of them. You would get a sense that some judges pronounce judgments as though they themselves are politicians. That is the reality out there. It has nothing to do with Lindiwe Sisulu. But the only reason why Lindiwe Sisulu is in the hot soup is because of the different positions that she holds in the ANC. One of which being a cabinet minister, the other one being the NEC member, and then of course many other positions within the ANC structures. So if she wrote that piece in her capacity as the minister, then of course the president had to act. But then when she was asked about this question, she said that she wrote in her individual capacity. And in fact, I'm on record having said this last week, that if the president wants to protect his own image and the image of the position that he holds, he has two options. One is to stay clear of the public comments about Lindiwe Sisulu and rather go for a private conversation with her, but not to remove her from cabinet simply because of the letter that she wrote. And then the other one, I said, once he has spoken to Lindiwe Sisulu privately, there are two things that the president needed to do. One was to have a joint statement with Lindiwe Sisulu, so that at least the public can see that they are reading from the same script. And the second option will be to say we've discussed, go to the media, and then tell them what we've discussed. That would have saved the president, and that would have saved the president's office.
Talk of possible disciplinary action against Lindiwe Sisulu. Professor, if you read Sunday papers today, there are those who say she should appear before the party's Integrity Commission. But then there are those who say, well, if she's going to go there, we all know what that body of the party does, and that is that some view it as being or lacking in impartiality, and therefore it targets some and leaves others. Is that likely to drag this matter out when the party perhaps needs to give some measure of stability, even though South Africans are fully aware that this is an elective conference year for the party, and a year like that or a year like this is likely to be very, very destabilizing, particularly in government?
You know what, Tole? At the moment, the ANC has enough problems to deal with. It's unfortunate that some of our politicians don't listen. You know, at the time when they were toying with the idea of expelling or, in fact, disciplining the former president, Jacob Zuma, I was saying at the time, or even recalling him from the position of being president, I made a statement saying that at that time, the ANC had enough problems, including killings in places like Kinjang and KwaZulu-Natal and many other places. I was saying that instead of the ANC recalling the former president, they must in fact focus on addressing the issues already on the table. We have a similar situation right now. The party has just not performed well in the just concluded 2021 local government elections. And then what should be the focus for me would be for the party to do a self-introspection and look at the factors that contributed to the party not doing well. To then subject Lindiwe to the Integrity Commission is going to further divide the party unnecessarily during the election year for the leadership positions of the ANC, and also while the party is preparing for the 2024 national and provincial government election. So I don't think it would be a wise move to then take this Lindiwe issue to the Integrity Commission, partly because of the reason we just alluded to, that the Integrity Commission itself is not 100% objective. So if that is the case, whatever judgment it arrives at is going to further divide the organization, and then come 2024, the party is going to perform dismally, and then the blame game will continue. So I wouldn't necessarily support that view that she must go to the Integrity Commission.
All right. So party political processes aside, we are aware that she serves in government. She is a cabinet minister, and she serves there at the pleasure of the president. If he decides to bite the bullet and dismiss her from cabinet, what might that do to his own re-election campaign for ANC president?
You know, Tole, that's a very interesting question indeed, for two reasons. One, this is not unprecedented. You recall that the former president, Jacob Zuma, did a cabinet reshuffle which saw the likes of Mngomezulu, Jonas, Pravin Gordhan, and others losing their positions. And the matter was taken to court. For strange reasons, the court said that the president had to explain himself why he did a cabinet reshuffle. Forgetting that Section 84 of the Constitution is clear that the president has the right to appoint from amongst members of parliament those who are going to serve in cabinet. He can appoint you today and then dismiss you tomorrow if he so says, like it happened with Van Rooyen. Van Rooyen never caused any stance. He just accepted the decision of the president. Now, in this case, the second part that makes this one important is because this is an election year, and it happens at the time when the ANC is not united. So the moment you take a position and you do that haphazardly, you are most likely to dent your own chances of winning the election. We know that for sure. At the moment, some provinces and some individuals have started announcing prematurely that they support the current president. But that does not represent the entire membership in those provinces that have announced, like the Limpopo and the Northern Cape. So if you were to take a decision haphazardly, that will come back to haunt him.
Yeah. Prof. Mngomezulu, I'm going to ask you to stay exactly where you are. We need to take a break. But when we return, President Ramaphosa is not without fault, some say, and you will find out soon what it is that we are referring to, because there are two matters that face the president right now and that could dent his credibility. We're going to talk about those in a moment. You're watching Politics Unscripted. This is Politics Unscripted. We are discussing the possible outcomes of the ANC NEC Lekgotla that is currently ongoing. A meeting that ordinarily is traditionally known to discuss right at the start of the year the programs that are going to be implemented in government, which is why it's called the ANC NEC Lekgotla. But that meeting, it would seem, there has been issues around public spats that we have seen playing out right towards the end of the week when the presidency issued a statement stating that the Minister of Tourism, Lindiwe Sisulu, regretted, to basically round it off, regretted the opinion piece she had penned, in particular her remarks towards the judges. But as we now know, the minister did not agree with that statement and instead seemed to be in a back and forth with the president. However, let's continue the conversation with Professor Bheki Mngomezulu. Prof, and I want us to turn the attention now to the president himself. Let's put aside Lindiwe Sisulu and the matters that involve her. The president, in a leaked audio of a December NEC meeting last year, he was heard saying that he would rather tell the public that the ANC or some of the campaigns of the ANC, these are now party political campaigns, for example, the Nasrec conference, he was heard saying that he would rather say that money was received from business instead of admitting that, and I quote now, telling the public that finally it would hear that their money was used to advance certain political campaigns, and I close quote. Is that honest behavior on the part of the president, and might that come back to bite the president?
No, thank you very much. I heard that clip. In fact, it was very concerning because you don't normally see the leadership skills of a leader when things are normal. It's only in times like this, when things are not normal, that leadership skills then show up. So on this matter, for instance, one would have expected the president to say, of course, we discussed this thing behind the closed doors. How the video was leaked is a matter for another day. But the reality of the matter is that this issue is now out in the public eye. So what does the president have to do in this case? Is to come out clean and say that, one, to provide the context within which he made the statements that he made, but then secondly, to admit to the public and say, this was unfortunate and it was not supposed to have happened. By so doing, he will be trying to get the interests of the people and then, of course, gain their confidence.
Yeah.
But then to keep silent when something serious like this happens, then, of course, that raises a number of questions. And in fact, it questions his credibility as a leader. So that's why I'm saying that you can be a leader, you and I can be leaders, but leadership skills will only show during trying times or when circumstances like this show up. Then that's why we want to see what kind of a leader you are. So on this one, I don't think that it serves or it helps the president, and more especially going to the 2022 elective conference.
And Professor, might I add, as a form of a question, that this matter is probably going to be most urgent, because if the president doesn't address it publicly soon enough, it is going to be one of those that is going to stay in the public domain, because as things stand, just last week Thursday, a member of the ANC caucus in Parliament was suspended with immediate effect, and this member, his name is Mervyn Dirks, and he decided that he was going to go to Scopa, which is the Standing Committee on Public Accounts in Parliament, to say that the president needs to come and explain his statements. Instead of the president accounting to the public, you have a member of his party in Parliament being suspended. Does that align with the message of this administration that is led by President Cyril Ramaphosa to say we are going to be an administration that is anti-corruption and, more importantly, that is committed to transparency and accountability?
You know what, Toli? Yeah, that is a very pertinent question. In fact, it has been worrying most of us. I was talking to some people earlier today, also raising my concerns about this issue. Because on this particular matter, you have Honorable Ders writing to Honorable Hlengwa, who is the chair of Scopa, basically saying that he would like the president to appear before Scopa to explain himself. He's not saying that the president is guilty. all he wanted was just for the president to clear the air. In fact, if I were to be in the leadership structures of the ANC, I would have encouraged the president to go there just to clear the air, because we already have points of reference when the late President Mandela appeared in a court case to give evidence. On this one, it's not even a court case, it's one of the institutions that are in fact sanctioned by law in Parliament. So for the president to go to Scopa, he would not have lost anything. If, in fact, anything, I think he would have gained even more, because what he would have done if he were to go to Scopa would be to explain himself, provide the context, and then clear the air. Yeah. But then what happened? Honorable Ders was given an ultimatum that he must withdraw his letter by 9 o'clock the following day, failing which action was going to be taken against him. When it did not retract or rescind his letter, indeed he was suspended, and then other things also followed. So I don't think that it sends a correct message, because it's as if now the organization is hiding something. That may be true or it may not be true, but of course the impression created is that there is an attempt to protect the president, and in the process of protecting the president, the party is in fact exposing the president. So the opposite is true. So I don't think that this issue was handled correctly. From where I'm standing, they should have allowed Honorable Ders to continue presenting his letter to Scopa, and then allow Honorable Hlengwa to decide on whether or not to invite the president. If invited, the president should have just gone there to present his side of the story, and then everybody would win, and then the public would be clear about it.
Yeah. Well, the other element, Professor, because I said there are two matters that are likely to taint the image of the president. The other matter is that of the ANC Deployment Committee minutes. We know that the president, in August last year, he testified before the Zondo Commission in his capacity as the then deputy president of the party. And the issue of these minutes was asked of the president whether the party keeps such minutes, because the commission is interested in these. The president, among his many responses, was that no, these minutes do not exist, at least in the period 2012 to 2017. That would have been the time that he led the ANC Deployment Committee, as is tradition within the ANC. The important matter here, Professor, is that the president, these minutes were now posted on the website of the commission, and a DA member went and actually retrieved these and made sure that the public was aware that these minutes had been posted for all to see. The interesting element here is that the ANC asked of the commission twice, it is reported twice, that if the commission intends publicizing these minutes, it should tell the party, because the reportage, as it goes, it says that if the commission does indeed intend publishing these minutes, then the ANC ought to be appraised. And the assumption is that it was then going to go and interdict through the courts the release of these minutes. What will that do if indeed it turns out that these minutes do exist, particularly for the period that he was the leader or the chair of the deployment committee?
Yeah, that would be very concerning, because it would mean that the president lied under oath. And then if that is the case, that will give opposition parties, more especially the DA, which is prone to going to court, it will give the DA ammunition to go to court and say the president lied under oath. And then that will dent his political image. For starters, I don't believe that you can have a meeting and then in that meeting there are no minutes. That is for starters. I don't believe that. But then let's assume, then let's give the president the benefit of the doubt and say those minutes did not exist. If in fact that were to be true, how come then that they resurfaced somewhere if ever they were never there? Did someone manufacture the minutes, or were the minutes kept secret and then someone leaked them to the media or leaked them to any other institution? So those are critical questions that will have to be attended to. But the truth of the matter is, if I deny that something exists when in fact it does exist, then of course it paints a bad picture about me. The least I can do will be to say, I don't remember. That one is a lie too, by the way. But it's a better lie than saying that emphatically that those minutes don't exist, when I know for sure that they do exist. If I know they exist, but then I'm just mindful of the likely impact of my response, the least I can do is to go for the second lie and say that I'm not aware. So that when they surface, then I say, okay, I see them, but I was not aware that they existed. Although that too would raise another question. Did you not attend any of those meetings? Because if you did, you would know if the meetings were being recorded or not. So I think that there are more questions than answers, and the only person who can assist us in this regard is the president himself. But unfortunately now, it doesn't look like he will appear before Scopa to answer some of these questions. But as time goes on, these things might come back, and then they might paint the president in a bad light. I don't know what his advisors are doing, because under normal circumstances, if you are the head of state or the deputy president or you are the minister, you have a number of advisors, economic advisors, political advisors, and all of that. So if they don't do their job, what are they getting paid for?
Well, Professor, I think you've led us to the natural and perhaps logical question, and that is that if this is the concern that the president, as you say, might have